I'm Chris from Play Comics, a show where we look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that comic book source material. A part of the GonnaGeek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and the opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other wonderfully geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
This is the official GonnaGeek.com show. Here we run down the latest news and happenings in the world of geek. These are your hosts for the show, Steven, Chris, and SP.
Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of the official GonnaGeek Show. This is episode 418. I am Steven, and I am pleased to say that Chris Farrell is here.
Someone's pleased I'm here at least.
I will always please you, and also is SP.
Hey guys, we decided to do another one of these. It's always a crapshoot on whether we're going to record or not, mostly because Steven's still figuring out how to do this again.
I'm actually going to blame the Mac because this is 3 out of 3 episodes where one of my stream decks have frozen up. So I have a theory. I think it's probably a USB glitch. I think if I move it to another port, it will probably all solve itself. But this is 3 out of 3 times that one of them has done that, and it works fine other times.
You're clicking it the wrong way, Steven.
Eventually, when you're looking at how something is failing over time and it's you in the loop each time, you have to ask yourself, is it me?
That's true, which was the feedback I think we got about your co-hosting on this show before. I mean, what?
I mean, if you want me not to be here, that's easy. I could click,
all right, toodaloo,
close the window anytime.
No. I meant that your co-hosting was the best part and I was the weak link. I think that's what it was.
Mm.
Oh, no, we are here with another episode. And if you didn't know this, we are part of the GonnaGeek Network. You should definitely go to GonnaGeek.com/Discord and check out the Discord there. We have lots of fun over there. There's lots of people who like to chat about different geeky topics, and sometimes we have memes in there, and sometimes we put deals and bargains in there that people come across. For example, did you know that there is a 8-in-1 Star Wars Millennium Falcon multi-tool kit? It was one that a certain pioneer put in there today. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, I agree with your comment that this is not a bargain, but I still kind of want it.
How many did you buy?
Did you buy it?
Yeah.
Oh, you did buy it? That is awesome.
I'm going to have to go see it. So you're going to have to take me off camera. I mean,
all right, fine. Well, anyways, while he is doing that, this gives you an opportunity to go on over to GonnaGeek.com/Discord, and you can see the chat there. He'll be back in a moment, but let's roll into the news, and then we can come back to this later. All right, our first news point is that SP bought himself an 8-in-1 multi-tool.
I did. It's pretty flat, but yeah, it's pretty cool. This is how big it is compared to my head. Cool. So if you've seen me and you know how big my head is, it's, the package is about as big as my head, but there you go. It's got various screwdrivers, bottle opener, little thing for, drawing circles, little thing for doing bolts and nuts and stuff. So it's like 8-in-1. It's neat.
It's cool. I didn't realize though that it was going to be that big, since you said it's as big as your head.
Well, the package is as big as the head.
I was making an ego joke.
Oh, well. An ego like the lawn tool?
Yes, exactly. Yes, okay. that one. Okay. That's cool. I didn't know you bought it. I think that it's very cool, and I definitely think I want to put it. Is it magnetic?
I don't think so. I think it's just a slab of. It's got a little clip that comes with it.
Well, the reason I say that because I think it would be really cool to just put on on my garage fridge.
I'm sure you could put like clips on the back, but then you're going to lose some of the. Yeah, I'm convinced the back end, and you can't see it very well, but I'm convinced the back end is like a scraper. Let's see, what do they call it too? Yeah, scraper. That's what they call it. So you if you put like magnetics behind it, you'd be scraping the magnets on your car.
Oh. Well, come on over to our Discord. Now, let's go to our actual first news point, which is that apparently Chris has hacked Microsoft and he has determined what the next Xbox is going to be all about. I believe this is stuff that he figured out firsthand.
Yes, I'm not at all going to cite more reputable news sources than myself when I discuss this topic. Don't worry. Don't worry. But why are we talking about the fate of Xbox again? Well, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but just last week, Microsoft announced what was thought to be impossible was actually happening. Not the fact that they were releasing Halo Campaign Evolved, a re-release and updated the original Halo Combat Evolved, but that it will be coming to PlayStation 5. Cue the narratives of, oh my God, Xbox is dying. Xbox is dead. We're screwed. Well, maybe we don't get ready to write that tombstone yet and declare them dead. Why is that the case? Well, let's reference some info that Windows Central provided in an article. You can find it in our show notes. They said Microsoft's Xbox platform has more support from Japanese developers than ever. Xbox Play Anywhere is seemingly catching on with developers at an increasing pace. And the Xbox Ally X PC gaming handheld is sold out in many of the core markets. The Xbox platform is evolving to encompass PC gaming, cloud gaming, and traditional console gaming. So it may not be dead yet. So that leads us to the question then, what is the next generation of Xbox going to look like? Yes, guys, we're at that point where it's time to talk about next gen gaming. I think if I did the count right, I might have put an extra or two in there. I'm not sure.
I lost count after it left.
I did too. Hand. I lost count as I was saying it, I'll be honest. So I don't even know how many I said. So let's talk about what this new Xbox could be. Windows Central has done some pretty good digging in and reporting, and you can find the article again in our show notes to go get all the details. But according to them, they are saying the next-gen Xbox from Microsoft will be a curated Windows gaming PC complete with your full native console library. It's going to run full-bore Windows with a TV-optimized console-style experience layered on top. Think of that as the Xbox interface, for lack of a better term. Microsoft decided to sideline its own Xbox handheld plans and go to market with the Xbox Ally in partnership with Asus this year to start gathering the feedback on the console gaming experience on a computer to develop what will essentially be the next wave of console hardware and console software appearance. So what's going to be different? The console is going to differ from Windows PC in that it's going to feel like a traditional Xbox console out of the box, is what they say. The onboarding experience will be similar to what you get in a console, and if you really want, you can never leave the Xbox appearance of Windows, for lack of a better term. Remember, it is full-blown Windows, but you won't see the PC version of Windows behind the scenes unless you want to.
Will it also have the same blue screen of death?
Presumably.
I heard that the blue screen of death was going away and that we were getting a black screen of death.
It's true.
Oh my.
It's true.
So I have gotten a Steam Deck while we've been off. And one of the things I have learned there is what we're talking about sounds very similar to the Steam Deck approach. That when you load it up, it automatically boots up Steam OS, and then it loads the Steam handheld launcher, for lack of a better term, where you can easily access all your games and whatnot. You can choose to exit out of that, which takes you just to a regular Linux desktop for Steam, in which case you can run a variety of other games. You'll be able to do the same on this window, on the new Xbox rather. They say you can exit out to Windows, where you'll be able to access games traditionally not available on your Xbox. This includes Steam games, keyboard and mouse first-party games like League of Legends, games from GOG, or even PlayStation games that are offered on Steam, because it's full-blown Windows, would, in theory, work behind the scenes. It'd be something you could play on your next-gen Xbox. Now, This is some reports of what the hardware will be like. We don't know any prices, but you can look at the handheld for the the ROG Ally X. Sorry, it's a tongue twister for me, which Asus just put out. And that was about $1,000 for the top of the line version of that. So if you look at that as a similar price point, we're talking maybe $1,000 for an Xbox gaming PC that can play your entire Xbox library of games, supposedly, everything that you own. Will be able to access Steam games and a variety of games from other sources, kind of potentially migrating them all into one single platform. So we like to have some conversation about the news. Let me start with the first most topical thing on this is if Microsoft can pull off this unified gaming machine, is this something you'd be interested in, being able to play all of these games from different ecosystems on one piece of hardware or potentially on one cloud streaming license to whatever device you want?
So I have a couple of thoughts on this. The first is, what about the vegetarian? Or the vegans even, because you said that it was full bore Windows. So
BORE, not BOAR.
Okay. That answers that question. The second thought that I've got is, I think they've been headed this way for a while because of what they did with Game Pass and on Windows and some of the apps that they've had for years that we've talked about that integrate with the Xbox. But it's going to matter about the developers. I think the developers is what's going to come down to it, the game developers, because if you are buying yourself a console and it is set up in a manner to work with console gaming, or it is set up to work with PC gaming, and you try to do it on the console, I think it's going to be an inferior experience if it doesn't translate the controls over properly to the Xbox. So I think there's going to need to be a lot of developer support on this.
That's a really interesting point. I think we've already seen it happen, though. Have you had any experience with the Steam Deck or any Steam OS inspired games and stuff like that? Because Steam's kind of done that by having native libraries that translate simple commands to what works with the default controls in addition to the touchpads that are on there. So there's a lot of work that's already been done by others that presumably Microsoft is doing something similar that would basically say, hey, if this has got optional controller input, here's how we map those buttons to what's provided on this hardware we give you. So I think in theory, we could be pretty close. Anything that is a Steam game, for instance, has a profile for an Xbox controller. So like I can plug an Xbox controller into whatever computer, even my Mac, if I'm playing a Steam game, and it'll recognize it and use those controls.
Is it the ROG Ally X that's got Windows on it?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Both there's two that just came out. I think there's one that's just the ROG Ally and ROG Ally X that are both in partnership with Microsoft that have this Xbox version of Windows, for lack of a better term, on them.
Because I was in a big box store that might have a blue and yellow color scheme, and
where you get the best buys, I'm told,
which is often not the case. And I was looking at one of these with my son, and we both kind of were like, "This is a weird interface for a handheld."
Yeah,
it felt weird. So that's where I hope that they can translate it right if they do the unified approach. But I do think there's a lot of potential there. And I would absolutely think I would be on board with that as long as they can keep the Xbox stability. And I know there's people laughing at that together saying like Xbox stable, but let's be real. The overall to-date experience on an Xbox is much more stable than the overall to-date gaming experience on a Windows PC. So I hope that they do make sure that that is maintained.
This is what they want. For people that are on audio, I'm holding up my Steam Deck that was on a table next to my desk. This has kind of been the proof of concept for PC gaming translated to handheld because of how well it's worked. And this is old hardware at this point in time. And I'm playing things like Baldur's Gate on it and things like that. Now, granted, the specs and the speeds and things are not great, but it's still a very playable experience. And I think that Microsoft has learned a lot from what Steam did with Steam OS and wants to see Windows do the same thing.
I don't know what just broke, but hopefully everything's okay.
I think that was upstairs. I'm not sure.
SP, how about yourself? What's your thoughts about his question?
I'm getting a little twitchy, guys, because I'm still doing the DVDs or whatever, the actual discs of the games. And I've very rarely done digital downloads to my Xbox. So that's just me kind of holding on to an old platform that has clearly been light years past where I am right now. So I just need to get over that and get over the fact that I'm probably going to have to rebuy these games that I want to play, like Portal 2, for instance. I have that on disc. Do I need to now buy it digitally? I don't know if it will translate on my Xbox account or not because I've downloaded it from the disc, but that's where I'm at. And as far as the handheld thing, if that's where gaming's going, and if you can cast it to the screen, my only concern would be latency. I've never done it before. I don't know what kind of latency is in there. If you have some sort of online game, or a multiplayer game, is there a latency issue with that? If you're casting it to a bigger TV with a better sound system or whatever, and then what kind of sound comes out of it? Are you talking just 2.1? Are you getting 5.1, 5.2? Are you getting the Dolby Atmos out of it or whatever? So if you have a gaming room, then you probably have a decent sound system. So what kind of sound is actually coming out of it?
So kind of a couple points on that. I think to me, it seems like Xbox is going to be a platform, so it could exist in a variety of different hardwares, whereas there is a possible circumstance where there is handheld hardware, a la the Steam Deck. I think there could also be a mini tower, for lack of a better term, that you could just put into your home theater. And heck, they might even do docks and stuff like that for it, because I can dock my Steam Deck to my TV if I want, but I need to turn the specs down because it's like a 720p screen on here trying to push out 4K picture. Boy, it does not like that on some games. Now, indie games and stuff like that, no problem. But to me, it sounds like this is more of Microsoft's ongoing thought of Xbox as a platform in which we can present our games and services. So we know, for instance, they've been doing a lot of work with cloud gaming. We know they've been looking at handheld. We know they've had traditional consoles. There's nothing to say they can't continue to do all of those, but just have the Xbox service be something that is a part of it.
And
now, your other
mobile, so you can take it mobile with you, but still have your console attached to your home theater system.
You can effectively do that right now just by streaming your games onto your handheld. Like my Steam Deck, for instance, I cloud stream Xbox games on it all the time. We had company over a couple weeks back, and I was like, man, I really want to play Helldivers, but Helldivers is on my Xbox, and they're staying in the office. So I was like, oh, I can cloud stream Helldivers. And it was not like 100% as good an experience, but it was about 90% there. Like text was hard to read in some cases. And then I had a couple of places where it just kind of bogged down a little bit network wise, and the picture got really crappy for about 10, 15 seconds. But by and large, it was an all right experience. So I think they're on the right track. I don't know. I'm an Xbox apologist. I've had an Xbox since the original one. I've greatly enjoyed the platform. But I kind of have to admit, I'm going to buy Halo Campaign Evolved on my PlayStation just because it feels dirty and I want to do it.
Campaign Evolved or Combat Evolved?
Campaign Evolved is the remake of Combat Evolved that is coming out.
Okay, so another remake of it.
Yes, it is like a remake of the Anniversary Edition.
This has been Sounds with Chris.
It's not even in the office.
So question for you, latency. You said the picture got kind of bad. What about the latency?
I didn't notice much of a latency issue beyond what I would normally see in a PvE online game. It seemed like the issue was they allowed the picture to degrade to keep the latency where it needed to be to still be properly playable, if that makes sense.
Sure.
One last thought that I've got about this is I was thinking, okay, so if they bring these platforms together, then there's going to be a certain amount of people that go, well, okay, I no longer need, I used to be a computer and an Xbox user. I no longer need that because this fits into my life to just have one specific thing. And so then I just got Googling, and there's this Reddit thread that I found from 9 months ago about Microsoft's revenue breakdown. And I don't know what the source of this is, but it was 9.48% of the revenue was on Windows itself. So I wonder, like, that's more than I would have thought for them to have risked losing some of those people. But I also think, like, what's the bigger play here if they're willing to gamble some of that? Because, you know, you've always going to have your office users. Actually, that would be really interesting to see how much is corporate users of that 9%, because maybe if the consumer is only like 10% of that 10%, then they're probably willing to gamble at thinking it might pay off on the back end in subscriptions and stuff, because now they're using an Xbox instead of having a computer or something like that. So
I might be just going into modern sci-fi, but I do see eventually this sort of capability going into augmented reality, kind of like you see in Ready Player One, right? Where, yeah, so having a portable device that goes into the ecosystem kind of matches all that. You take that and you increase the computing power, the graphics, you add haptics, you add all the body wear that would go with the haptics, and I think you have a kick-ass gaming experience.
Well, you know what else would make a kick-ass gaming experience? If your Windows OS didn't have weird bugs like the one I'm about to actually tell you about. Because guess what? Hell has indeed frozen over. Microsoft has finally fixed an issue. Winter is coming.
No, it's not. George R.R. Martin's still writing that book.
All right. Actually, I think he said he's not going to do it. But anyways, you might be thinking to yourself, why is it freezing over this time? Because I am telling you about one specific bug that Microsoft has finally resolved. Have you ever gone to shut down your computer only to find you have a pending update waiting for you?
All the time.
Yeah. So you see the update and you say to yourself, well, I've got two options here. I can either install the update and restart, or I can install the update and shut down. If you're like me, you probably came across this update when you were ready to shut down your computer, because it was right there in the shutdown menu to tell you that. And so you probably went and you're like, I'll just use the shutdown option. So you select install update and shut down, only to think about, well, you know, the temperature is so warm right now, I better make sure this is shut down because I don't want my computer going overnight, because I don't have AC in this room and it's already stupidly hot in my den because I've been podcasting and having steam blow out of my ears from all the things that my co-hosts are saying. And so you select install update and shut down and you go to bed and you go, in the morning, I know that my room will be cool because the computer will be off. Well, you come back the next day and your computer's actually been on all night and it's hot, almost as hot as those pictures you have of SP. So you say to yourself, you must be an idiot. You must be an idiot and you must have selected the wrong option. It's the only thing that could have happened here, because you thought you hit the shutdown, install and shut down, but you must have hit install and restart. It's the only logical option, aside from there being some form of weird lost in translation difference between the American definition of the term shutdown and the Canadian definition. That's the only other way that this could have gone wrong, but I digress a little bit. So turns out
the Canadian definition of shutdown is you need to open a new case of Molson.
Fair enough. So here's the thing. In this regard, if you're like me, you're not actually an idiot, because it turns out I said disregard. In this regard.
Yeah, I use Mac.
There's many other reasons I'm an idiot. But Microsoft has indeed acknowledged that there is a bug with this. And when you were thinking you were hitting install, update, and shut down, and your computer was not installing the update and shutting down, it was a bug, because on the October 28th release of an update that came to Windows. Microsoft had a little note in there, it was buried in the updates, and it says improved, addressed underlying issue, which can cause update and shutdown to not actually shut down your PC after updating. This bug apparently goes way back. It goes back to Windows 10 and, of course, includes current Windows 11. And apparently, according to the to Windows latest, it is one of the most reported issues within Windows. So this is not actually a big thing, but I needed to put it in my news because honestly, I had never ever Googled it, and I legitimately thought that I was just screwing it up every single time I came across this. I thought that I just made a mistake. So I'm glad to see that I was not actually alone in this and it was a bug. So I want to ask you two, have either of you experienced this issue? And did it drive yourself to as much insanity as it drove me? And also a more meaningful question, given that this is apparently one of the most reported bugs that you would think wouldn't be a big thing, and it took them 2 OS generations to fix. What do you think about that as far as Microsoft's acceptableness? How acceptable do you think it is that it took Microsoft this long? And does it give you much, and still much confidence in you going forward to fix more meaningful bugs?
Well, first of all, it happened to me every single time that I broke into your office and I installed some more spyware and then did a shutdown, but then it didn't shut down. It just restarted. So yes, this has happened to me before. And because you were starting to notice it, I was getting a little worried that you'd figure out exactly why it was happening. And it had nothing to do with this bug. So I colluded with Microsoft in order to throw this in there to throw you off the case. But in reality, there's been quite a few times at work where I have done something like this and the computer did one thing or another that it wasn't supposed to do. So very few times do we actually shut down at work. Most of the time we leave it up so that they can remote in and do any sort of auditing or updates on the computer when we're not there, that sort of thing. So we usually keep them up. But every once in a while, they'll say, hey, we're going to save electricity this weekend. Let's just shut them all down. So I've come in the morning and be like, hey, did somebody turn on my computer? No, I didn't turn on the computer. Like, why is it still on? Because I know I shut it down before I left. I specifically chose the right thing before I left. So that's happened. And it's also happened here. And I've had that same problem where I've gone into the room and be like, it's hot in here. and because I've shut off the vent and
then only take off all your clothes.
Well, that's exactly what I do. I'm like, I need to strip off just to get this.
It's getting hot in her.
Yeah, just to get this thing done. So yeah, it's happened to me before.
How about you, Chris? I know you've been a Mac guy for a little while now, and you finally brought me over, but you know.
Even when I was on Windows, I never did the update and shut down. I always left my computers running because I either wanted to be able to get the data on them or I just honestly didn't care. I think that my laptops, I might have done the update and shut down, but I honestly don't remember. So it's never really bothered me much, but
the laptops are the worst, man.
Yeah.
Because you think you shut it down and then you sit down and you pop the screen back up and it comes back up and you're like, I know I shut you down.
So let me be honest with you. When I was doing stuff on the laptop, generally I do system updates while in the midst of doing other work on a desktop or a different computer. So I would just do the updates. And then once I saw they were all done, I would shut things down after that fact. It tended to be. So this is not something that's really impacted me in the past handful of years, in part because I've been using Mac OS, but also in part just because I never really did the update and shut down. I generally did the update and restart because I didn't turn things off. Even my work computer, I think the only time I turn it off is when there's going to be a site power outage for some reason. Then I will turn it off over the weekend. But inevitably, I come into work on Monday or Tuesday and see there's a Windows update for you. And I go delay until 6:30 p.m. Friday. And then I come back in on Monday and do the whole cycle again. And don't really worry about shutting that one down either. So that doesn't faze me much. And honestly, I don't know that this bug really concerns me a ton for faith in Microsoft and all that. Look at it from a developer standpoint. it's not a huge pain point to most of those folks. There's more important bugs and things that are being fixed. Yes, it is annoying as user. It's something that's persisted across 2 versions of Windows, but it's an annoyance. It's not a back-breaking bug that stops you where you are. Maybe I just have a different perspective from having worked in software for a long time.
Chris, I'm right there with you. To answer the second question that Stephen asked is, if this was just down in the list and they were actually working more important things, I would be fine with it. Now, we don't have the whole list of priority bugs that they're fixing with Windows, so I can't say for certain that something was more important than this.
You can glean it from release notes, the things that they're tracking and working.
Chris, I don't glean. I barely read.
It's more of a glisten, right?
You can skim.
Skim off your bank accounts.
You can ask AI to summarize it for you, because that's what we do now.
Okay,
we ask AI to do everything for us. We don't think on our own. We tell the AI overlords to do it and then assume they're right.
It's so funny. I did it with a document at work, because that's what everybody says. You know, if you get an important document at work, throw it in some AI and ask it to summarize it for you.
Yep.
So it summarized it. And then I actually read it. And I'm like, no, you missed this, you missed this. So I fed it back in here. I said, you missed this, you missed this, you missed this. And of course it came back with, you're absolutely right. We did. So, or I did. So here is the new one with the important stuff that you pointed out on your own. Well, why am I even bothering asking you to begin with, where I'm going to summarize it myself anyway?
Inevitably, when I use the work AI tools that we're approved to use, I do it. And then I'm like, this doesn't sound right. And then I go and do the reading myself, or go and do the research myself and go, oh, it's because it's not right. And I'm like, what is the point? I am saving literally 0 time by now having to research everything I ask it.
Does it not sound right because you're actually reading it?
It does when I go and read it after the fact. If I just blind send something to it, like they encourage on some things, here's a QPR, here's this, here's a user guide for this software we want you to use. And I'm like, okay, give me the basics on how I do this core function. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that. And then you go and read it and you go, oh no, I can't, because that's not how it's designed.
But
I don't know.
Reading it, you're not trying to listen to something that's not meant to listen to. You said it doesn't sound right.
Oh, okay. I understand. I was using, yes, you are correct. There are people that could be listening to it, however, because they could be using a screen reading tool or something like that.
Yeah, but so I know you don't.
I mean, you assume I don't. No, I don't. As it's quicker for me to read than to have the computer read to me.
So I decided randomly yesterday, maybe the day before, to switch, just to try on my new phone, to switch from Google Assistant, Gemini actually, on my new phone back to Samsung Bixby, because it's been 2 years since I tried it. I know, I thought, well, let's try it. You know, I did read some articles saying it's a bit better, and apparently there was some AI stuff in there. Well, this morning I asked it this question. I laughed really hard. I said, when is the shortest day of the year in Canada? And its response was Monday, November 3rd. I'm like, it's weird that was the same thing. I knew that was wrong. So I go,
what a coincidence.
I go, please explain. And it goes, okay, here's what I found. And then it goes on to cite an article about winter solstice being December 21st.
Look, we have a,
come on now.
We have a problem in general with people lacking media literacy. It is not being helped at all with just ask the AI and assume it's right because it's an AI. That's the problem. So people are now not even researching on their own. They're asking fallible AI tools to tell them the base truth on something, and it's not always right. And then they're like, well, this is the truth, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, where did you learn that? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, I put it into ChatGPT, or I put it into Gemini, or I put it to insert other AI tool here from vendors I don't want to talk about. I'm incredibly frustrated by the lack of research people do because they think the AI is a safe way to do your basic research. Things like AI are a great tool to help you get started to then do your own research.
Right. This is a deep dive here. Sorry, a huge tangent, but I have used it successfully. I have used the large language models successfully. And how I've done that is in my last hiring rounds, what I did is the core document that describes the position is very language intense. It's multiple pages, whatever. But when it comes down to the actual advertisement, it's very condensed. When it comes down to scoring the different submissions, either the resumes or the interviews and due criteria for that, it takes a specific condense. My words are bad too today. It takes a certain way to condense everything to the point where you can have it actionable. So I've done it with rounds of going through AI saying, no, you didn't bring up this. This is important. No, you didn't bring up this. This is important. So we learned over time to get something that was condensed and able to be utilized successfully. And I successfully used it to actually hire a couple of people, which I thought were the best qualified, and brought forth the specific attributes and skills that I was actually looking for versus what would have happened if I just went with a template sort of thing. So it helped me along the way. Is it good for everything? No. And was it good on its own? Heck no. It took many different back and forths and going through it, reading it, and making sure that it had what I thought was important in there.
Well, you know what else is important in there is your thoughts about New Glenn.
Ah, yes. Blue Origin. Since we talked last time, Blue Origin did a static fire, which was just a few days ago. Unfortunately, the people that usually stream it packed up early when they Blue Origin just did a test. I don't know if it was an abort or not. So everybody packed up, went home. Well, a couple hours later, they're like, we fooled you. So they did a successful static fire of the booster. They just brought it down yesterday and brought it back to the hangar to mate it with the payload. And this is what happened today. The FAA posted an advisory for the New Glenn second launch today, Monday, November 3rd, 2025. According to the advisory, the launch window opens at 2:51 p.m. Eastern Time and extends to 4:50 p.m. Eastern Time. This would indicate a daylight launch and landing attempt on Blue Origin's Jacqueline Landing Platform Vessel 1, or LPV-1. Now, a backup attempt in the FAA is listed for November 8th at 2:49 p.m. through 4:48 p.m. The attempt is marking only the second flight of the system, since the first flight was on January 16th, 2025, which was 295 days between the two launch attempts. The New Glenn booster is named Never Tell Me the Odds, and it will launch NASA's Escapade, which is short for Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers mission, attempting a planned landing on Jacqueline after that. Now, if the New Glenn launch and landing is successful, Blue Origin has previously stated that the booster will be used to launch a prototype luminary. Man, I did not type that correctly. Lunar lander in the coming months. Meanwhile, the NASA's Escapade twin spacecraft, because that's what it is, two spacecraft, are planned to fly to the L2 Lagrange point and await a favorable flight window to Mars later in 2026 by way of an Earth gravity assist. All right, so we've been talking about New Glenn. We've been talking about Starship for a long time, guys. I know you're not experts. So in that light, what interests you guys in this flight, if anything, because you might not be interested, I don't know. And do you think New Glenn will literally stick the landing this time? Chris, what do you think?
To paraphrase one Jamie Heineman, Jamie want big boom. No, I'm just kidding.
So do you want it to explode on the launch pad? Do you want it to crash into the ship? Do you want to see it explode in the sky?
Yes. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to see it explode, but I did want to bring that up. I just want to see successful space launches. There's something fun about that. I don't know that I necessarily have any dog in the fight other than just scientific achievement is fun. I want to see scientific achievement. I think a healthy space race with competition amongst multiple vendors is good for everyone.
And the competition in this particular case would be SpaceX and Blue Origin right now, because they're the only two that have at least even tried to launch a reusable booster. There are others smaller, but there are others in the play in the United States. There's other countries that are exploring it as well. But right now, it would just be SpaceX and Blue Origin. Now, New Glenn, as we talked about before, is in between the Falcon 9 and the Starship in terms of capability to launch things. So you can think of it in terms of, okay, I've got a sedan, a small SUV, a big truck. What do I need to actually get the job done? What costs less? Because, cost is a factor, talking about competition,
always.
that sort of thing. So yeah, I can understand all of that. So Stephen, what do you think?
For me, I think this is really exciting because I realize that I've become spoiled as far as the current space developments go, because I remember sitting there excited when we saw, I don't know, I guess it was the first Dragon capsule test mission be a success, and it was like, this is the first private successful manned space mission. And then it's just like, oh, look, there's things happening every day, and it's just kind of like status quo. Well, I like the idea that, like, if this is successful and continues to be successful, it is another power player there, which will hopefully lead to the next really cool thing that we can all nerd out about. Because yes, I still enjoy watching different launches. I enjoy watching the Starship tests, the big booms, everything. Like I enjoy that all there, but it's not the same as a new piece of like unique technology coming out of the private space race that was the Dragon capsule. And so I think this is really good because it does lend itself towards more development in the private space area in other ways. And so I do hope that they continue to have success. Big booms are fun, but I just want to see a power player the growth of another power player in this space.
So both rockets are planned right now to be part of the Artemis program. That's another whole discussion that we can have over the opening of NASA into the contract for the lunar landers and stuff like that. But this is the third leg of that triad between SLS, Starship, and New Glenn in order to enable the new American capability to not only go to the moon, but sustain activity on the moon, much like we've done with the International Space Station for 25 years of continuous human presence in orbit on the International Space Station. Very similar to be able to get that going for the moon. And talking about big booms and getting something excited, I know you guys haven't seen this because there was no press coverage of it, or very little press coverage because of the shutdown of the United States government. But remember that new NASA test jet, the X-59, that was going to test quiet sonic booms?
Yeah.
Talking about that had its first flight a couple of days ago.
I saw that, and I saw a screenshot of it from FlightAware. Anyways, one of them, and the icon was really cool. It was pretty unique. It was neat.
Yeah, so that's going to be doing a series of flight tests. It flew from Plant 42 in the Palmdale area over to Edwards Air Force Base, where it's going to be basing its flight testing. So it was just kind of transporting from where it was manufactured over to where the flight tests are going to be. And then it is going to do test flights over the course of the next couple of years amongst populated areas, and then try to get the public's opinion of what the sound is like, of whether the public can then withstand that sound and the effects from it in order to have supersonic flight over populated areas. Because right now, even if we had something that could go supersonic, which we don't after the Concorde left, that could carry passengers, it can only go supersonic over the ocean because of the sound effects, the vibrations, the booms, the broken windows, that sort of thing. So this is meant to mitigate
but
that.
SP,
And
the UFOs already go supersonic over top of us. The aliens are doing
supersonic. I don't know if aliens are. I mean, illegal aliens, maybe. I don't know.
Oh my.
Yeah. So that is exciting, I think. Stephen, just the way you said it, you were excited about that.
I am. And as far as whether or not we can withstand it, the government has never cared about people. Why should they care in this regard?
Okay. NSA, that wasn't me. That was Stephen.
And lastly, in our extra before we get to a special segment with Chris Farrell here, I wanted to mention a little bit of discussion that was happening in our Discord, in our extra section, because in our Discord we were talking all about some changes with the Affinity lineup. Now, if you've been around for a while, you've probably heard us talk about the Affinity suite, Affinity Photo, Affinity Design, and Affinity Publisher, I believe was the name. Those were basically Adobe competitors that was made by a company called Serif. Well, last year, I believe it was, maybe earlier this year, Serif was bought by Canva. So the question was, what was going to happen? Well, we now know what was going to happen was that they have released a new version of the Affinity program called Affinity Studio, which is basically combining the three things of these together. They are apparently the same tool, well, very similar tools. Within one platform, there's different sections within that program. So that if you were doing the photo work, it's under a tab called Pixel and so forth. So there's different options within there. Well, it's also free now because the old programs were actually costed. So they was not just, it wasn't a subscription, but it was something that you paid a one-time fee and you could buy that. And then last year, a couple of years ago, they created version 2, which was something that was more universal. So an evolution from the version 1 apps. Well, now it's free, but it is a freemium model, meaning that there are some extra features coming in here that you get by having a Canva subscription. So there is a bit of chatter around there. There's a lot of what ifs still to come out from this, but I wanted to give it a mention on here because I think it's interesting to see where it goes. I think that the Affinity tools, if they are still in there, I think it's really cool for the people who didn't want to put money forward now have access to these because it is one of the better Adobe suite competitors, in my opinion, at least as far as photo and image work goes. But I do have fears of where this goes in the future. So I thought I'd just throw that out here and come to our Discord and chat with us about that. I know that, I don't know if Chris, you have bought these in the past.
I haven't.
No, but SP and I have. We've bought a couple of different Affinity programs before, so kind of sucks to see that it's free now, but especially because version 2 was not actually that long ago that they got our money for that, but we'll see where this goes.
If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. I'll just put that out there. So
agreed.
I would worry about the intellectual property of the products produced through the free version of that right now. And I mean, I've used Canva before for podcast logos, or have had co-hosts do that before, and the logos look okay, but I always wonder about, do I really own this or not?
I've used it for making process diagrams before and stuff like that because I don't have Visio. So
So come to our Discord at GonnaGeek.com/Discord. Now it's time to hear from Wyze. Chris.
I fear that Stephen has set the bar too high, but I will endeavor to be wise for all of you, dear listeners. So you all do know that I have dabbled a lot in smart home tech and security cameras and things like that in the past. And longtime viewers of the show, you probably recognize that, everything behind me is different. You've heard me complain over the last 2 episodes as I'm getting everything established, and I'm still dialing everything in. So I moved. So everything I'd kind of done at the old house, it was my chance to reevaluate what I wanted to do in the new home. And I think I've talked about on the show before that in my old home, I used to use Google's security camera. Specifically, I had a Nest Cam outdoor that was powered, that was plug-in powered, and I had a Nest doorbell battery that was recharged every 2 to 3 weeks, basically. And I'd been relatively happy with them, but the problem was the Nest Aware cloud service just kept growing and growing in price to the point that I think in the span of 3 years, it had almost tripled. And I said, this is okay if you have a lot of cameras on your plan. I have 2. I don't feel like I'm getting the best bang for my buck here. So it's time for me to reevaluate what I want to do going forward for security cameras in my home.
I'm kind of surprised, though, Chris, that you actually would think about money. I thought that money was no object for you.
I wish it was no object for me. But like I said, I did evaluate it. I think I talked about it in the Discord, in fact, that the prices were going up. So it was time for me to reevaluate things. And I had canceled my Nest Aware service as soon as the last price change went into effect. Sadly, I had just re-upped my subscription like a month before, so I was locked in for another 11 months, but it was basically canceled from the next resubscription period forward. And I said, it's time for me to figure out something different. And in fact, I decided I didn't even want to bring those cameras with me when I moved. I unregistered them from my account, left some handwritten notes and some typed up notes to the new homeowner that basically said, hey, here's what these 2 different cameras are. Here's where you can go online to find how to add them to your account. I've removed them from my account. Feel free to use them however you want. So I got rid of my cameras that I was pretty happy with when I sold my house and bought the new house. And I'll be blunt. For me, the main consideration for moving away from the Google Nest cameras was hardware price and cloud storage price. Now, with the Nest platform, you had no choice but to use cloud storage. If you didn't, I think you got like 15-second clips that you could keep on your doorbell camera. And I don't even think the outdoor camera would give me temporary clips or anything like that. I remember looking at it and going, look, the free version of this is not sustainable for anything I want to do. If somebody broke into my house, I don't know that I'd actually have the footage to know what was going on or even be able to check it out myself. So I'd done a little bit of research and I had some ideas based off some research I'd done prior and another camera I'd put into my house that I've probably talked about on this show. But I said, with my priority being I don't want to pay an arm and a leg to do this, and I don't want to necessarily have cloud storage. I want to be able to do things locally. There weren't a lot that gave me an option of what to do. So I went with a company that you guys are all familiar with. We've talked about before. Steven's used their products, I know. It's a company called Wyze, W-Y-Z-E. Now, I did use one of their cameras before on the back porch of my house where I had got one of their lamp kit adapters, which basically allowed me to run a USB cable out of the light fixture on my back porch to a camera that was mounted to a washer over my door and then held in place with the magnet that was in the base of it. And it worked really well. And I knew it worked really well because I never paid for their cloud subscription service. Instead, I had tossed like a 256 gig mini SD card in it. And I would basically just pull any footage I wanted from that SD card, and I could check and see any events that happened. For my purposes, it was in my backyard, so I wasn't really worried about a ton of activity. So the 5-minute cooldown between events on the free tier for Wyze's camera storage was not a problem for me in my backyard. For my front yard, I may have wanted to do things differently. So I said, okay, I'm going to explore and see what Wyze cameras may fit my need. And I knew I could probably do something similar with using the lamp socket adapters and stuff like that. But they had just announced a new product right about the same time we were closing on the new house. And I saw a product announcement and I went, ooh, I may want to go check this out because it kept me from needing to run power to put up solar panels, anything like that. Because Wyze has put out a product that they call, and let me make sure I don't mess this up, the Wyze Bulb Cam. And I have the box here. I'll hold it up on screen for folks. And what this is, and I excuse the reflection here a little bit, is it is an LED bulb with a camera that hangs down from it. The camera you can pull down further, and I'll give an example by looking on the back of the box. You can pull it down further, and then you can twist the camera. You can adjust it horizontally, vertically, things like that. That pretty much, as long as there is a light socket somewhere that this bulb camera can plug into, you can use it. And I got lucky that the light fixtures on the outside of my new home were all the light fixtures that faced downward. They had an open bottom. So literally I could just unscrew the bulbs, put these bulb cameras in there, pull the cameras down a little bit so they hung outside the glass enclosure, and it was perfect for my needs because I was able to give myself fully powered coverage around my house. Now, the trade-off here is if there's a power outage, my cameras obviously don't work. Some other Wyze cameras are battery powered, or you can do solar supplement, things like that. Mine rely on a power switch being turned on. If someone turns off the power switch in my house, the cameras turn off. Let me give you a little bit of basics on the Wyze bulb cam. Regular retail price for this is $49.98. Not an unreasonable price. They were on sale for part of Prime Day. They are on sale for part of the Wyze deals they had going a couple weeks back. In fact, I think I bought my most recent one I put in my backyard as part of their Wyze deals. I bought it at retail, but for the Wyze sales they were doing, I think they gave me a 64 gig SD card for free. So I considered that a win. Like I mentioned, screws into the light bulb socket. It can be outdoors. It can be indoors. You can flip the video 180 degrees in the app if for some reason you need to make the camera stick up instead of hang down, just like any of the other Wyze cameras that are out there. Specs on the video: 2K video, 160 degree field of view. I find it does pretty good with its night capture, for lack of a better term. You can record solely to an SD card. You can also do the Wyze Cloud on their free tier, or you can pay for it. I'm actually doing the paid version of the Wyze platform just to experiment a little bit because I have 3 or 4 cameras up right now, so it is a reasonable price. But what is also really cool with these is you can also pair each one of these camera bulbs with an accessory bulb. So what that means is, in my case, I have 2 cameras in the front of my house, 1 on the back of the house. So I have 2 light fixtures by my front door and 2 light fixtures by my garage door. In each one of those, I put 1 camera and paired it with an accessory bulb. The front setup is pretty simple. It's basically set up to say, hey, from sundown to sunrise, I want you to turn on the lights. And when the magic time hits for sundown, the light turns on the bulb camera and then on the accessory bulb, and it stays on all night. Now, I could, in theory, do what I've done in my backyard, which is I have 1 back there with no accessory bulb, but it is set up so that when there is a motion trigger within my detection zone at night, it'll turn the camera bulb on for 3 minutes, enough to pretty much scare someone if someone's trying to do something back there, or to give me a good shot of what they look like. Now, I could have paired that with an accessory bulb and performed that same automation so that both the bulb camera and the accessory bulb would turn on when motion's detected in a specific detection zone, or just in general if I'd wanted to. I didn't really care about putting 2 bulbs out back. I just wanted the 1, honestly, because the backyard camera is right below my bedroom, and I just don't want lights turning off and on for extended periods all night long. It would probably bother me. Initial impressions on this: it's all worked pretty well for me. The most complicated thing was not in my front yard. I did a pretty good job of, for those that aren't familiar, there's what you can do called detection zones, where you bring up a live feed of the camera and you basically draw boxes on that feed and say, these are the areas I care about observing motion or observing people or packages or pets or something like that showing up in. And in the front of my house, that was okay. I didn't have to deal with any weird shadows from my neighbors' houses, anything like that. So I dialed in those detection zones. It was great. The backyard was just kind of a nightmare getting set up for detection zones for the first couple of days I had it, until I realized that I had dialed in my detection zones how I wanted, but I had left it so that any motion that it detected in those zones was going to send me a push notification. And I went, well, I'm paying for the tier of camera service that I can make a distinction between people, pets, packages, stuff like that. So I turned off the motion detection in my backyard and just replaced it with people and pets and packages and stuff like that. So only if the camera detected person, package, pet, etc., that it would send me a push notification. And
what about people's packages?
I mean, that's part of a person, so I assume we'd be okay there. So it really cut down a lot of my false notifications, and I've been pretty happy with how that worked. It's the backside of my house. I have a fenced backyard. There's very rarely anything going on back there. I just wanted the coverage just in case. So for my use case, not having general motion as a trigger was not necessarily a problem for me. It just took some time to refine it. I thankfully did not have to do that on the front end of the house. So pretty much my driveway and steps, those are all marked as detection zones. So if there's any kind of motion there, it's going to trigger and alert me as to what's been going on. And it's kind of fun to get an idea of the neighborhood cats that are out in the neighborhood, because there's some well taken care of outdoor cats that live here. We've got some skunks, we've got some possums that have shown up for me. I have some other accessories in my house that might show up on there. It's been a fun little experiment, and I've been pretty pleased with it. But the real question, though, and I'm sure you guys are wondering, is Chris, you talked about a lot what this can do, how I manage it. What does it look like? So, Steven, why don't you hit it for the people?
Well, hello there. Sorry I didn't see you. This is all contrived, you guys know that. But this is an example of some footage from my Wyze camera that I just installed on the back side of the house right now. Like I said, it's the camera with the bulb connected to it. You can see it's got a pretty good angle of everything here. It's 2K video feed. Audio picks up pretty well as you're close to it, but as you walk away, maybe not as great. Get the sun coming in right here. But what I've done with this one is this is mounted on the back side of my house. While it's mounted on the back side of the house, the camera detects motion around this patio area and this step right here that goes to the back of my garage. Well, then it turns the light on for about 3 minutes, I think is what the timer's set for. After 3 minutes, it turns it off. I thought about taking that light bulb there and pairing it with a companion bulb, but I decided not to because I don't need both lights to come on when there's motion. I could set it up so that both lights turn on if there's motion. I could also set it up so that this turns on from dusk to dawn. But since my bedroom's right above here, I didn't really care to have the light on all night. And there's not really anybody in my backyard besides me and the robot, which we'll talk about at a later date. So I've got it set up to just trigger off of motion. But mostly I wanted to step out, give you guys an example of what the Wyze camera looks and sounds like when recording and then pulling footage off of the SD card. I should note you can pull that footage from the SD card down from the Wyze app by downloading the video directly to your phone or tablet. I do believe you can go on their website now and pull it down, but worst case scenario, you could always pull the SD card out of your camera if you decide to put one in there, and then pull the footage that way. That being said, that has been your demo of the Wyze bulb camera. We'll throw it back to the live feed right now, and we'll talk some more about it. See you guys later.
So that was an example of the video quality you're seeing there from the Wyze camera about back. I didn't mention in there, I'm probably about 6 to 8 feet away from the camera when I started talking to it. So it's not like studio audio or anything like that. You can obviously hear distortion and stuff like that, but it's good enough to hear anything that's going on or to carry on a conversation through the camera with anyone that may be there.
So Chris, I have a question, and a very important question that a lot of people watching the YouTube probably have right now. Since you did walk into your backyard, there is a possibility, and I just want to get this clear, that you might have been wearing the Taylor Swift Hokas.
Taylor Swift what?
You don't know this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, when we're done, go ahead and search Taylor Swift Hoka. Hoka.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So, okay. First off, while you are Googling that, let's multitask here.
Let's do it.
I wanted to first say that I'm very disappointed in you. Do you know why? Do you know why?
Why is that?
Take a guess why I'm disappointed in you. Because you left the Wyze watermark. You always got to remove the company watermark. It's the first thing you got to do when you get yourself a camera.
Okay, fair. For the purposes of demonstrating a product I'm talking about on here, though, I wanted to put that on there because we are referencing and talking about impressions of it. But yes, I could have done that. An additional note on this. How I got Steven this file, because I didn't feel like pulling it off the SD card or anything. I literally just pulled up the camera app, went to the event that was me sitting there, hit the download button, downloaded it, and then just dumped it on the Google Drive. So it can be literally that simple to move a file for an event that happened.
It looks good too. It was good. So I assume that it must have been the same quality as was on the SD card, because it looked pretty sharp.
I did tell it to export the full 2K video. So it was only like a 2.5 minute video, but it was a not insignificant size that you probably didn't want to be downloading on a mobile network.
The other thing I wanted to comment about was I've seen, actually, since you got this, because you were the first one to talk to me about this idea of a light bulb with camera. I've seen a few different products out there now like that, but I think that this is such a smart way to get people to have security cameras in places that they might not normally be able to, because they don't want to run wires or USB cords or whatever, right? So I think that this is such a good idea, and it looks good. I think it also gives you good framing for where you might want security cameras, because normally lights, aside from ones that are there for decoration, are in places that you want to have illumination, places that you might be walking. And so, you put that in your light fixture, wherever that might be. And that's great coverage of your yard. So I think that that's really cool. And I'm glad this worked out for you.
It's a great tool for renters also, because if you think about it, having to put up security camera infrastructure in a property you don't own, you don't really want to run power lines or drill holes and stuff like that. If I could literally just stick a camera in a light bulb socket, then I don't have to run it and do anything extra.
SP, do you have any questions for Chris there?
If he's running, are they in the Taylor Swift Hokas?
Did you Google it yet, Chris? Did you figure it out?
I don't even know what the word is that's being said, so I didn't. I've never
Chris,
felt
6'7",
more. I've never felt
6'7".
my 40 years more than right now in my life.
I was literally, long story short, I have a stress fracture in my foot, and I was walking up and down, or hobbling up and down the hallway at work in my tennis shoes, which are Sauconys. They're not Hokas. And I got stopped by about 7 different people. Ooh, are those the Taylor Swift Hokas? Like, what are you talking about?
So she has her own branded sneaker, is what you're saying.
So I think, and Steven can correct me if I'm wrong, because he's probably more dialed into this than me, is that it came out that when she was writing her songs in her latest album that just dropped, a month ago or so, that she was wearing those shoes while she was writing the songs. So they're just called the Taylor Swift Hokas. It came out that is what she was wearing. I have no idea what she was doing in them. Was she running? Was she just sitting? Was she lounging? No idea. But they skyrocketed in price overnight, and Hoka got a huge deal out of it. Steven, unless I'm mistaken, that's pretty much what it is.
I asked Gemini what are Taylor Swift Hokas, because I had heard about it, but I didn't know what it was. According to Gemini, Taylor Swift Hokas refer to the Hoka Clifton 9 sneakers that she was spotted wearing. She was seen wearing the popular running shoes in an Instagram post showing her in a recording studio session for her album, The Life of a Showgirl.
I don't even know what Hokas are, guys. I wear Nikes or like Adidas. I don't.
Man,
yeah,
you're so pedantic. Go with brands that are 40
I'm not a
years
sneakerhead, man.
Hokas are actually really good shoes. They don't fit my feet well, but a lot of actual athletes wear the Hokas because they're very supportive and stuff like that. I've tried them. They're not good for me.
Look, I only got a couple fancy pairs of sneakers. I got a pair of LeBrons because they're comfortable and they look nice enough I can wear them to work. And I got a pair of the Tribute Brody Lees by Reebok that are nice enough I can wear them to work, because I refuse to wear dress shoes. I wear sneakers to work all the time.
I got the dad sneakers. I got the Sauconys.
New Balance?
No, I've tried them. Sauconys
White
are better
New Balance.
than New Balance. Yeah,
I
used to have
sneakers.
New Balance. I don't anymore.
You gotta wear jean shorts with them too.
Did the Asics. I've done them all, and I've worn them with the 70s running shorts to the jeans. I mean, yeah, me and sneakers go way back.
You heard it here first. SP and sneakers go way back.
When's the SP sneaker cast starting so we can learn all about your sneaker
It's going to be
ways?
really boring, guys, because I've been on the Sokanese for a long, long time.
But you can tell us your journey to get there.
I mean, that's the journey in my life, and nobody wants anything to do with the story of my life.
Well, I would like to know more about sneakers so that I can sneak up on you better.
I see what you did, and it concerns me.
Can you say passport?
So that's going to take us to another end of the GonnaGeek Show. But I do want to say, if you have questions for Chris about his Wyze camera, please come to our Discord, because he has had this for a little bit now. And he loves to talk about his new technology. And I love to see people ask him questions and him answer them. And then me come in there and act like a jerk and try to throw a wrench into the whole question by just randomly putting wrong answers in there. So please come to the Discord and ask him.
Pretty profane wrong answers, too. Like, I didn't know those words.
Also, you should check out the GonnaGeek Network. There's lots of great podcasts over there, including the Starling Tribune and Walking Dead.
It's still there. Is Walking Dead still an active show?
No.
I mean, is the RSS still valid?
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
Okay.
I doubt
Starling Tribune is. Just pointing that out.
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is over there.
It's still there.
Yeah, it still is.
What about Shield of Legends?
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Long Box Edition.
It's
Check
still
that
there
one out.
too. Yeah. Actually, if you've ever gone back to listen to one of those, it was actually a pretty neat show. It just took forever to produce.
Better podcasting live chats. That one's also there.
I might, if you don't get off your butt pretty soon, I might throw that one back out there.
That's fine.
Ooh.
That's fine. You do whatever you want.
All right.
But that's gonna wrap up the show. So please come to our Discord. And hey, we'll be back in another 2 weeks, which, as I pull up a calendar, should indeed be November 17th. Come on over at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And as long as SP isn't holding us up again, we should start on time.
I'm such the procrastinator. I mean,
true.
before the show, I updated my computer to Windows 11. I was doing my show notes at the same time on my iPad. So yeah, I'm so sorry, people.
Perfect.
I am the reason that we were
You
late
should
today.
apologize. Jesus.
So for episode 418 of the GonnaGeek Show, I'm Steven saying my mouse is vertical now. It looks weird, but I love it.
I'm SP saying we're looking forward to another rocket launch.
I'm Chris, and my mouse has a big thumb ledge on it.
You know, it kind of looks like the spaceship from the Seth MacFarlane series.
The Orville?
No, it looks like the Flight of the Navigator.
No, what about the other one? Farscape. Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or a thumbs up on YouTube. You can always join us for our live recording sessions at www.geeks.live. And remember, you can find our full back catalog at GonnaGeek.com/show. If you're itching for more geeky content, check out other shows on GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Voice work was by Emily Prokop of The Story Behind podcast. That's it for this episode. We hope to see you back again next show.